here we go.
Well, hey guys, welcome to episode 114 of CMD Tower's Brews and Builds. I'm MrComboNumber5 and my fellow host is like Kevin Costner and Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, claims to be a hero for the people, but really he's just trying to steal your stuff, BigTuck.
He's just stealing from the rich to pay the also rich. I love how people make this Robin Hood narrative. It's like, so... It's such a simple concept, right? Like, there's really no, like, thing to it. He just steals from rich people and then gives to the poor, right? But, like, people misconstrue that in whatever direction that they want, right? So people are like, well, it's bad because they're not paying taxes on it. It's like tax-free income to the poor, which doesn't help anything with roads and anything. It's like, yeah, but, like, why weren't the rich people being taxed? The real question is, why does this have to be taken out to, like, an outlaw, right? This guy goes against the God. It's kind of the same argument that, like, have you heard this capitalism, like, how people misconstrue Batman to be this, like, Republican, like, right-wing hero. Have you heard this?
Really?
Yeah, because think about it. Like, what is he doing? He's using his money, right? His superpower is he has money. He doesn't, so he's burning all this stuff and not paying taxes on it because he puts it all through Wayne Tech, right? So he's funneling all these things into that. So he's avoiding government loopholes. He's using his privilege to take on crime, and he operates above the law and, like, outside of jurisdiction. So people, like, make him this, like right-wing, like, fascist superhero.
So basically what I'm hearing is Batman is now the modern-day Florida.
Exactly. But enough about that. We're not here to talk about this sort of thing. But I also can't be like, hey, how are you? What have you been up to? Because we just talked less than 12 hours ago.
That is correct. But if people want to know what we're up against, me and Tuck borderline want to destroy our website.
Oh,
God. It is so infuriating. So hopefully we are going to be working with Mr. T to get it onto a better server so it doesn't suck.
And shout out for the 15 people that go to the website. Please direct message me on at BigTuck tweeting and tell me, or on if you're a Patreon, patreon.com/CMDTower. If you're on that, message me and tell me if you think it's slow, because it is infuriatingly difficult to use. Like when we're going through and just trying to edit, and it's specifically when it's me and Mr. Combo on at the same time. It's impossible to do. So yes, it's a nightmare. But what are you gonna do?
It's because apparently this website was built in 1985, could only support one user at a time.
Yeah, exactly. So if you try to come and order something, it will also crash if I'm trying to do an update.
But no, other than that, I mean, today is the Drinkathon. Of course, not in recording life. This is in the post-apocalyptic time sphere that this show lives in. And so I know when you guys are listening to this, BigTuck and I, have already recorded another Brews and Builds for next week, IRL, which will be fun. B, we are now trying to figure out what decks we strategically play throughout the tournament, so that way we have a chance at getting Ragnar, a piece of Magic
That
history.
would be awesome, yeah.
And then finally, what the hell are we eating today? BigTuck, what should we be doing for Drinkathon food day? Are we doing like Minsky's? You're the out of town guy, I guess. Is it Minsky's pizza? Is it like barbecue?
Ooh, I don't know.
You know, what do you?
Your barbecue's so good, but Minsky's is also very good. Isn't Minsky's just the easiest?
Well, there is a barbecue Minsky's pizza.
How many pizzas we're going to have to order for like 17 people?
Oh, I mean, it's going to be a crap ton. But, I mean, if everyone chips in like $15, it's like, okay, that's $500 worth of pizza or whatever it is.
It was maybe my going away party where we ordered, I think you literally ordered $150 worth of Minsky's or something. And
it got destroyed.
Like, it came and went. Like, all that was left after 20 minutes was like a couple things of like thin crust, one cheese pizza, and then like one slice of like all the other varietals. Like that.
Yeah, I remember going up and being like, where are the wings?
Oh,
and they're like, those went away real quick.
I don't know. Let me think about it.
All right.
I don't want to think about food right now because my stomach hurts from this Nashville hot chicken sandwich I had yesterday.
Well, I'm excited and hungry because when we're done recording, I'm making chilaquiles.
Ooh, yum.
And you know what else is ooh and yum? It's our Patreon. So you guys should go over to patreon.com/CMDTower. Oh, yeah. Oh, give it. And part of that, part of joining the Patreon is you get access into the Discord, and comes with perks, like talking
Boston.
to Spencer Wabbits. It's just I'm from.
I'm smoking a cigarette outside of a Dunkin'. Come on, man.
And, part of that is we got that CMD Tower Jund Holiday sweater. It's normally $50, but, you patrons, you get a little discount. It's a 20 spot. A little something off the top. And, hey, the other thing is that you get exclusive pre-order rights until December 1st to make sure you get your size. Because once your size is gone, it's gone. We ain't getting no more. And, of course, you get shout-outs onto the show and all this other stuff. I'm sorry, I don't know what happened. Apparently, Steve, my Boston parallel self, took over.
A single Aeron's from Boston. Did you know that?
I do.
He's going to be there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, of course, if you're an existing Patreon and you refer someone into the collective, maybe they want to get the holiday sweater, whatever it is, have them let us know because we do have a referral program. So, if you're like a part of the BigTuck Brewing Buddies, for example, and you get someone referred over, you know what? We'll hook you up with a pack of sleeves. Or, maybe have someone join the Squeeze Choir. Maybe we'll send you the Squee coin. Definitely we're going to hook you up with some swag and some different little perks just to say thank you for growing the community. Now, if you guys would like to pick up any of our CMD branded product, head over to our store, cmdtower.com/merch. That is where this awesome holiday sweater will be. But patrons, make sure you go to patreon.com/cmdtower, log into your account because you will have a password protected link. So that way you guys can go do your pre-order. But you can get our sleeves and all the accoutrement on there. The awesome thing is that we finally have the shipping figured out, so that way it'll actually calculate to your zip code and give you ground or overnight. So hell, that's amazing. So excited. And we will be figuring out how to get it set up for our Canadian brethren, so that way the likes can order as well. Now, of course, the free way to help us out is just share the content you're watching and listening to, because every little bit of interaction does help. Now, we could not do this video or podcast without @_tcodes. Tyler is our audio and video editor for Brews and Builds. He does a lot of hard work into our channel and other channels in the Magic community. So please give us feedback. What you really like, what you want Tyler to improve on, or maybe what you want us to net new introduce to the deck. So Brews and Builds is our deck tech series. Since we conquered the path to 32, we talked about some exciting themes of EDH could support. We decided to mix it up for Season 3. And continuing that train, BigTuck and myself will be fantasy drafting commander decks around community-voted
Draft day,
legends.
baby!
So, each of us will do the following.
Pre-select 50 non-land cards. Flip a coin to see drafts first and go round robin until the deck is actually complete.
But what if you pick one of the cards that's on my list?
I have to remove it from my draft board.
But we all know my favorite thing to put in decks, lands. What about them?
No, we will be giving the total land count recommended and only talking cards up to the available slots. But every once in a while, if there is a land that's very good, it does sometimes worm its way into the conversation.
So the first 27 cards it's going to be a per-person snake draft, which basically means if BigTuck wins the flip, he picks first, I pick second, I pick third, he picks fourth, he picks fifth, so on and so forth. But then the next 5, it's going to be lightning round. So it's just going to be rapid fire, boom, 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 right till we finish out the deck. So without further ado, let's get brewing.
The collective chooses these, they vote for this, and I am baffled by this decision of what we ended up with.
I know, I really thought they'd go for the Stranger Things partners.
Me too, that was such a great idea.
And I didn't even pick the good ones. It was like the kind of weird ones.
Wait, was it? I know it was Max and it was the Max.
I think it was Max and Lucas?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
The couple, yeah.
And so they voted on a mono blue deck to be drafted today. So we're going to be doing Lier, Disciple of the Drowned. So
yes.
BigTuck, why don't you read off what this card is and then give me your 30-second impression of the direction you're trying to take this deck.
Lier, Disciple of the Drowned is a legendary creature, human wizard Harry, that is a mythic. And for 3 colorless and double blue, spells can't be countered. Each instant sorcery card in your graveyard has flashback. The flashback cost is equal to that card's mana cost. Beneath the waves, lost gods stir in their slumber. I didn't really like this one. I was surprised. I was shocked that it won. I think that there's a lot of like fun spell stuff that you can do with it. And I'll be honest with you, Mr. Combo. As mentioned previously, I built my list when I was heavily intoxicated after hashing club. So I went through and it took me a minute to be like, oh yeah, what am I doing here? I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure I have a sub theme that I don't know if is even good. But I do like the idea of it not being countered, right? I think this kind of opens up a lot of different ways that you can play, control, and not just be like counterspell, force of will, force of negation, so on and so forth.
So I actually thought this was a fun challenge of a deck because I really started to think about it, and it's like, okay, it's instant and sorceries. We need to talk about playing stuff out of the graveyard. How do we make this fun? We can't do counter magic.
Right.
And then I was just like, oh, well, expropriate. Well, you can't do that because you'd have to mill it, and there's literally no advantage to milling it because it's the same either way. It's not like you get to copy it like with Savine. So I actually kind of took the deck into like this cool control deck, and I was able to do it dancing around counter magic, just doing it in different flavors. But then I'm just kind of, especially because it doesn't state only on your turn, only once per turn, it's just flat. So my design of Lier is a control deck that's trying to draw through the deck, but not necessarily doing it the normal way. We're not trying to Blue Sun Zenith for 50. Okay. But it's more like we're trying to use like a card like a Brainstorm twice. We're trying to use as many of the cheap cantrips that blue has, but use them multiple times with Lier to dig through the deck, get stuff to protect the board, and then probably do the traditional I don't have any cards in my library, I win. Which is a boring blue way to do it. I'm just kind of making the deck, at least that I'm drafting, go through more hoops to do it versus Grand Monolith, Power Artifact, Infinite Mana, I win the game. Like, I'm not doing that.
Right. How much are you dealing with the graveyard?
A fair amount. I got some stuff that'll pay off casting stuff from the graveyard. I got some stuff to be able to return things from the graveyard. So potentially I get to use the card 3 times instead of twice.
Okay. Got it. Because, yeah, I was like, I again, am going through this and actually made some pretty good picks, shockingly, just looking through it. But I do play a little bit of the mill stuff. I do agree, though. I think that's kind of get into dangerous territory if you focus too much on just the mill. Because, again, Lier does cost 5. I don't know. What do you think about 5-drop commanders? That's kind of like the norm, right?
Yeah, well, I'd say 4 or 5 has kind of become the norm.
Yeah.
You know, I will say 5 is now at that CMC because Commander has gotten so streamlined, it seems like, that now it's like, is it a really powerful 5-drop?
Right,
like,
right.
Is it a really good legend, or is it better for me to go with a 3-drop that's maybe not quite as good?
As good, yeah. But I think the idea of, like, building this control shell around him and forcing yourself into... Because it's like, I think most spell slingers want to be able to cast stuff back that is like Cyclonic Rift and those sort of things, or just like, you know, your counter spells. So I do think that it's kind of interesting. But I guess we'll see. I'm excited to hear about your lockdown pieces. I'm excited for you to yell at me about some of my choices. It's gonna be
because they don't make any sense.
Yes, exactly. Because it's like I don't know where I was going with this one. Now I was like, if you don't have a coin handy, I realize that these Zins that are my tobacco-free chewing tobacco, we could just flip these.
I have a coin.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to go. What do you want, Tuck? Heads or tails?
I would like tails never fails.
All right. That would be heads.
Damn it! I think I've won all the other ones, haven't I?
No, actually,
you won the first one.
You've lost every single coin flip. I just always defer to you and have you go first because I want to pick 2 in a row. And yes, that's exactly what I'll be doing today, ladies and gerbs. The Kansas City Chiefs will defer to the second half.
I see. All right. Well, are you ready to get into this? Are you ready?
Yeah,
let's
go.
All right. So my first one is kind of like a utility spell. It's a color-shifted version of one of my favorite red interaction spells. But these sort of things I think are really worth their weight in gold, especially when you can buy them from the graveyard. But we're starting off with Twin Cast. So double blue for an instant. Copy target instant or sorcery spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. One thing I really like about this is that a lot of times you kind of save this up to be like a backup counter spell. But so you kind of always have that in the back of your mind being like, I want this to be protection against other blue decks. But I think if spells can't be countered, it really kind of opens up how much fun you can get, right? This can turn into a ramp spell. This can turn into creating a bunch of creatures, those sort of things. And just being able to cast it twice, I think just has a lot of value to it.
Yeah. Normally I wouldn't be that big of a fan of these kind of cards. Like the copy stuff, it's cute, but once again, I'm all about that one-time use.
That value, right?
If I can't use it over and over, but I think the fact that your commander allows you just on its body to be able to pull it back from the graveyard, I think that's fantastic. It's absolutely worth including in the deck. And, I mean, it could be one of those things to where we use some of my control shell. We've already done it again. It's now stuff in exile. You need ways to counter stuff. And maybe your opponents play that stuff, and that way you could twin cast off of it. So, yeah, lots of utility.
I love it. All right, what are your first 2 picks?
All right, so my first pick for round 1 is going to be a pretty awesome card because we're going to be playing things from the graveyard. So we're going to be playing Secrets of the Dead.
We are.
Blue.
Damn you.
Enchantment for 11 cents, uncommon. Whenever you cast a spell from your graveyard, draw a card. What's better than getting extra value from sorceries and instants you've already played is when you do it again, you also replace the card back into your hand. It's awesome.
Yeah, I love this card. I think this is a must-have, immediate slam dunk into the deck. I think that this is going to be something that your opponents are really going to have to wonder if they want to blow up, and I think you're going to get 4 to 8 cards off of this pretty consistently for 3. This is like your perfect card. What a perfect first pick for you. Like our first picks are like dead on to how we want to play.
Well, for round 2, I'm going to start off with one of my control shells. That's kind of a counter, but not a counter. We're going to be unsubstantiating with our opponents. So unsubstantiate, colorless blue, instant, return target spell or creature to its owner's hand. Basically, 2 mana, delay a turn, or bounce a creature that you can also do again, and it's always at instant speed. So powerful. And if there's going to be ways that we can return our instants and sorceries back to our hand, being able to use unsubstantiate multiple times through the game is really good.
Unsubstantiate's a total house. There's a card that I'll be talking about a little bit later, hopefully. We'll be able to go into about this sort of thing. I was really hoping we could put delay in here because you said that, but that is also a counterspell. Damn it.
All right, Tuck, what do you got for your round 2?
Okay. So this one's a new card, and I think it does 2 things. I think the fact that you can recast this is really going to get some value for you, as well as protect your commander pretty well as well. So you see a guard approach, I think is an interesting card that I had not seen played before. So
what? I've never even heard of this.
I know, it's brand new off of Adventures in Forgotten Realms. So you see a guard approach, 1 blue, instant. Choose one, distract the guard, tap target creature, or hide. Target creature you control gains hexproof until end of turn. So that's why, for me, like it's kind of a very low power sort of spell. But if you cast it once to protect one of your other utility creatures, and then if you have Lier out and someone tries to remove him with a Swords of Plowshares or something like that after they untap, you can kind of block. You can kind of defend him twice with it. So that's why I think it's kind of like a cool little nifty utility card. The tap target creature is kind of stinky. I wish it was tap target creature and they don't untap next turn. They're like that froze mechanic, but I mean, maybe that's too much ass for 1 drop.
Yeah, no, not a ton to add.
You like this? You like this one?
I like it a lot, especially because it's 1 mana. It once again, I think the reason that some of these chaff cards that probably wouldn't see play are good is because your commander allows you to do it anytime you want. If there was any restriction on it, this wouldn't be playable. But the fact that there aren't any, it's amazing.
If it was like only during your turn or something like that, right?
Or only once per would I rather have something else? But the fact that you could, save a bunch of mana, protect your commander, maybe do a card draw, maybe even return a spell or creature to someone's hand, that's awesome.
Exactly. Yeah, I love it. That's that one. And then this one's super boring. I think what I did in my drunkenness was I put in all of my cards and then shuffled it a few times. But yes, we are talking about our old pal Shark Typhoon.
Yeah,
pretty much a blue spell slinger staple. 5 colorless and a blue for an enchantment. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create an XX blue shark creature token with flying, where X is that spell's mana value. It cycles for X, a blue, and a colorless. When you cycle it, you create a XX blue shark creature token with flying. This card's a complete house.
Yes, it is.
It's kind of like the Meat Hook Massacre of that set in a little bit. Like, it's played across formats. It's very strong. It's like backbreaking, played in standard, even though it's not legal in standard anymore. And you kind of have to have it. The only trick here, Mr. Combo, is that there's no way in hell Meat Hook Massacre is ever going to get down to $10. Like
Probably not.
Has got to.
Probably not. Mainly because Meat Hook Massacre does just do what Black does.
Yeah.
Just like really well.
And efficiently.
Yeah. This one at least is like casting spells, so you still have to like do a little bit of a thing. But yeah, no, I mean, I had this on my list. Shark Typhoon's an absolute house. It's the one way I can play it instant speed, and I do that in quotes in my Brutaclad deck. Great shout out to CCO Nation for that. Yeah, it's awesome. But
instant speed in quotes.
Yeah. But here's the interesting thing, Tuck, because I had this in my list, and my round 3 card as well produces tokens when we do spells. But I actually think the token strategy in this deck needs to be a sub theme. It needs to be the bare minimum, and you'll see why later. But my next card that I'm going to talk about, it's kind of, I guess, a blue staple, especially in the Spellslinger decks, because everyone plays it. We're talking about Tarlian, the Sky Summoner.
Oh, yeah. Is this on mine?
Probably. I mean, I don't know why it wouldn't be. We always talk about Drakes.
Yes! It's not on there.
So, Talleyrand, Sky Summoner, 2 colorless blue, legendary creature, Merfolk Wizard. It's a 2/2, and it states whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, make a 2/2 blue Drake creature token with flying. So, exact same thing with the Shark Typhoon. You just, if you're going to be doing what your deck wants to do, just get something on the battlefield. Granted, the Shark Typhoon will be able to make a variation of power and toughnesses, depending on what the spell is. This is always going to put out your 2/2s, but, something's nice to have for a chump, because like I said, my strategy is to control the board, draw through the deck to hopefully win through that route, and so you're going to need blockers, because once people figure it out, because I do think, Lier, it's interesting, Tuck, because people might see that commander when you sit down and be like, oh, well, you're playing fair blue. You're not doing counter spells.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And so, you might be able to trick people for a little bit, but once they start kind of seeing you control the board, it's like, oh, screw this person. I need to kill him. And you'll need guys to block for that.
So I'm looking through my list. I have a lot of these guys, these sort of token summoners that come out. I think I might have too many, and I'm also looking through here. I'm not sure if I have enough actual spells that are instant sorcery. So we'll see how it goes.
All right. Well, my round 4, we're going to continue on the how do you counter spells without countering spells? Narset's Reversal. So, blue, instant, copy target instant or sorcery spell, then return it to its owner's hand. You may choose new targets for the copy. $4.50 is the cheapest one you can get. So, once again, this is just a powerful card in general, and people play it a lot, because a lot of times you could do it on your own spell and be able to do the spell again, and then Narset's Reversal it again with this commander, and then cast it again. You essentially get 5 copies of your spell. But in this one, it's because of that loop, because of the fact that you can play it from the graveyard at instant speed whenever you want because of your commander. It's an absolute auto-include.
Yeah, it's insanely strong. I love it. Great pick. I can't believe it's $5. I remember when this was like $1, maybe even less.
Yep.
So that's stinky. But I guess if you want to pay the piper, you got to pay the iron price for that reversal.
All right. Well, Tuck, for round 4, what do you got?
All right, I got a pretty basic one. But I'm playing a lot of big haymakers in my sorcery package. So Leyline of Anticipation, just, again, kind of a mono blue, kind of have to have it. 2 colorless, 2 blue for an enchantment. If it's in your opening hand, you can get with it on the battlefield, which is insane. And then, of course, you may cast spells as though they had flash. I have a lot of creatures in this deck. I don't know why. I also have a lot of things, which we'll get into, which cannot be cast at instant speed no matter how hard you try. Unless you're going like a very, very high instant count in this build, I think you kind of have to have Leyline. I think it's a pretty easy fix for anything where you want to play a control or a very interactive sort of deck.
And to even pile on to it, the great thing is that it doesn't have any conditional clause. Think of like Omniscience, where you only play spells from your hand without paying their cost. This, you don't have any hand or your turn clause with that, so you can now play your sorceries out of the graveyard whenever you want, and just all the rigmarole. So yeah, great card.
So I have another one, and this is the first sort of cheese on here.
Okay.
I am obsessed. I, for some reason, am on a MFDC Rampage. I love all of them. I can't stop putting them in decks. I literally can't stop, Mr. Combo.
It's because you're becoming better and better friends with Tomer, and he's just slowly infecting you.
I literally just bought like 6 copies of the white board wipe one. But this one is one of the ones I don't think is as strong, but still very good. So Salindi Vision. So 2 colorless and a blue for an instant. Look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal an instant or sorcery card from among them, put them into your hand, then put the rest in the bottom of your library in a random order. This one, I think, for me, is just kind of like, in terms of the card. But I do like the fact that you can cast it twice, right? And that, I think, makes it a lot better in this one. And then it also is Salindi Isle, which is a land that enters the battlefield tapped and produces a blue. So for me, kind of meat and potatoes. Take out an island, put this in here. Even if you discard it or are forced to discard it, you can always cast it again at a later date.
Yeah, and the other thing that I like, and this is a fringe thing, but it is good to know, is that if you ended up having to play it for the land earlier in the game, sometimes there's things that destroy lands or you have to sacrifice a land. This is a great one in this deck to sacrifice. It'll be an instant in the graveyard then, and then your commander can play it, which would be normally the negative of the modal phase cards. Oh, if I play it for the land side, I can never do the instant or sorcery on the other. This, you always have the option. I mean, heck, there might be a thing, Tuck, if you were to build this deck, put in all the modal phase blue cards that you can, and then have some sort of like sack land engine, and then it's like, haha.
No. It's hold on here. Trade routes. I think that's the one. Yeah. Oh my God. Okay. Bonus one here. Trade routes. 1 colorless, 1 blue for an enchantment. 1, return target land you control to its owner's hand. 1, discard a land card, draw a card.
Oh,
there you go.
There you go.
Okay.
I don't know how many modal blue cards they are, but there you go.
I think there's like 4. But that's fine. Whatever. There's more print. Mr. Combo, it's back to you. I'm passing it back to you. Pick up the phone. Who we calling?
All right, so the funny thing is that we need to be briefed on a mission. We just talked about this card, but it's great in this card. It's great in this deck.
I hate you.
Am I just stealing all of yours?
No, you were just briefing me about this card like a week ago.
So mission briefing, blue instant. It's a rare, but it's actually good in this deck. Surveil 2, the choose an instant or sorcery card in your graveyard. You may cast that card this turn. If that card would be put into your graveyard this turn, exile it instead. Here's why it's actually good in this deck. Is there's Surveil, how I would prefer Scry. Surveil's good for this because then you can actually choose instant and sorceries that you put in the graveyard, not an enchantment or creature or land or something you can't bring back. The other nice thing about it is that it does set it up for the future. This isn't conditional on your commander being on the battlefield. This is almost a good, my commander's 7 and I don't have 7. Okay, I'll do mission briefing and still kind of do my commander's rigmarole. So, you can use it again later, whenever you want. So that's why I like it in this Lier deck.
Listen, it's great. But I think the bigger issue is that this card is just good. And I'm glad you finally see the light.
I don't know about all that. Well, for round 6, I wanted to dazzle you with my dazzling lights.
Wow.
So I actually, Tuck, when I was going through, Surveil is amazing in this deck. And I thought of you with our Surveil discussion. I think Lier actually is an amazing Surveil commander.
Oh, yeah.
So Dazzling Lights is 1 blue. It's an instant for a penny. Target creature gets -3, -0 until end of turn. That's nice, I guess. But the bigger thing is Surveil 2. If you're needing to fuel your graveyard, or it's like, I literally don't have anything to do. Okay, fine. -3, -0. Oh, 2 things, put it in the yard. I'm going to do it again. Up, 2 things in the yard. Okay. I've been able to filter through my deck.
And now I have this whole army. I can now remove the thing that is hurting me, right? Yeah. But even then, I think like the minus shit kind of stinks, but there are those fringe things where it's like you're at 14 commander damage, and there's someone swinging in for 7, and you're like, okay, I can live through this, right? Like, I'll still be alive, even though I'm still on like the precipice of being destroyed.
Yeah, absolutely. So round 6.
I finally have a instance that I think is interesting. So this is a pretty sweaty pick because I don't know if it actually does anything, but I think Discontinuity could be an interesting pick in here. So 3 colorless, 3 blue for an instant. As long as it's your turn, the spell costs 2 colorless to blue to cast, and then end the turn. So for me, if we can't overload Cyclonic Rift or those sort of big board wipers out of our graveyard, which you can't with Flashback. You can't do Overlord, which is stupid, but whatever. Then at least we have one way that we can just be like, okay, you're done. Like, I'm sick of playing with you. This turn's going too long. You're doing too many things. It's over. I'm just stopping you right here in your tracks.
But it's
for
6
a low cost of 6 mana. Look, I don't make the rules, man. 6 mana to stop someone from winning? What price else are you willing to pay?
7 in Cyclonic Rift?
But you can't overload it from the graveyard.
Like, a lot of times if someone's about to win the game, you could just single bounce something, and you'll stop the rigmarole.
Sure. But now you can single bounce everything, including their patience. Just stop it.
Jesus. All right, fine.
Okay, so I have another one here that I want to talk about. Hold, please.
Yeah,
I think
round
it's one that
7.
Round 7. Okay, so I just saw this card get played like crazy. I think it's going to be pretty good in here with the amount of cards we're going to be drawing. So I have 2 of these. And the first one is going to be Ominous Seas. So colorless and a blue for an enchantment. Whenever you draw a card, put a foreshadow counter on Ominous Seas. Remove 8 foreshadow counters from Ominous Seas. Create an 8/8 blue Kraken creature token, and then it cycles for 2. So for me, this is something that's just kind of sit around, right? And I think this is a card that you and I like seeing. And it's 38 cents. I think this is one of those cards that you and I like to see because it's like, what's like the point where someone is going to want to blow this up, right? Because it's like, do they wait till 8 or is that too late? Like, do they want to waste removal on it? And then if you don't need it, you can always just draw a card off it with the cycling too. So for me, that's why I like this one in this deck particularly.
I like it a lot because of the fact you can do it over and over and over and over again. If it was you sacrifice it, then it may still be good, but then you really have to figure out, is it worth a slot over just generic more card draw or more control?
Right, sure.
But the fact that you can just keep pumping them out, and you are right, this deck is going to be drawing a filthy amount of cards through a lot of spells. So you're going to get a lot of 8/8s.
Yes, sir. Draw it up.
All right. Well, for my round 7, I want to eat your dreams. So Dream Eater is awesome in here. 4 colorless, blue, creature, Nightmare Sphinx. It's a 4/3 mythic. It has flash. It has flying. And when it ETB, surveil 4. And then when you do, you may return target non-land permanent an opponent controls to its owner's hand. So this is part of our control shell, but also still can fuel our commander. It's instant speed. You know, people could be like, oh, you left up 6 mana. You have 1 or 2 cards in hand. What's in their graveyard? It's a bunch of cantrips. Okay. He's just going to cantrip on other people's turns. Let me swing and do this thing to their planeswalker or whatever. You know, at 6 mana, let me flash in this guy. I can either bounce the thing that's coming at me. I can block it with the 4/3. But regardless, I'm going to be surveilling 4 and hopefully fueling that next turn. So I think there are going to be some of these. I think this is a little overcosted. I think you're going to need some of those in here. But, you know, hey, blue knows how to blink. So you could repeatedly abuse that surveil 4.
And I do like how you committed to surveil on this as well. That's a real win that you did on this. Not the control shell piece. The surveil commitment, that's what I like. I think this is a really cool card. I think this card, I love Sphinxes. And I think that this is one that is just kind of always fell off from being something that I want to slam in a bunch of decks. But I agree here. Like, this is like a great control card, and you get to fill up the graveyard. So thumbs up from BigTuck. Big thumbs up. There we go.
All right. Well, my next one is going to be a pretty cool enchantment, and you get to do extra surveilling. So we're talking about enhanced surveillance. Colorless blue enchantment. You may look at 2 additional cards each time you surveil. Exile enhanced surveillance. Shuffle your graveyard into your library.
Okay.
And that's actually the big piece of this enchantment, and it's 12 cents.
So I was just gonna ask, do you want to run any of these sort of shuffle effects?
I don't want to run them for the sake of running them, but as long as they have a modal ability, then yes. So that's why I like this in here. It's only 2 mana. You have to have some way to protect your graveyard at some point. It's just like we even say, like, you need to at least have one piece of graveyard hate in your deck.
Right.
And the fact that we are going to have the sub-theme of surveil in here, it's like, well, you still are giving me something. Now, is this thing going to work every rotation? Probably not. But I think if you could get 2 additional surveil cards once every 2 rotations, I actually think that is worth it, because that's essentially getting to look at an extra card every turn. And how many cards do we play that are just scry 1 at the beginning of your upkeep? That's essentially what this would net out to be.
If we're already pot committing to these, and most of them are instants and sorceries, we might as well just go all the way, and then those just replace, to your point, like the ponders, the preordains, and that sort of stuff. We're just replacing those with surveil and now getting extra value out of it.
Yep.
All right, I like it.
All right, Tuck, give us yours.
Okay, so this is my first cheese card. This one's definitely greasy. Cheese. Didn't we lock you in a dumpster one time? I got out. Cool. Well, there's some whippets lying around. I hate Jeremy Piven so much. One note I don't hate, walk the Aeons. Our first extra spell turn. I only put a couple in because most of them exile themselves.
Yes, they do.
This one is great. 4 colorless, double blue for a sorcery. Target player takes an extra turn after this one. It goes right to the graveyard.
Sack 3 islands?
But you can sacrifice 3 islands to buy it back. And sometimes that's all you need. Think about it. Like, you buy it back. So with the cost of 12 mana... having your commander out on the board, and just the pittance of 3 lands, which you're not going to ever have enough of in this deck, you can take 3 extra turns in a row. Boom, boom, boom. I'm going to walk the Aeons. Walk once, the twice, Aeons 3rd time. Once, twice, 3 times a lady. And then you can buy it back on the 3rd turn instead of it going to exile, and it goes back to your hand.
Because I think part of the flashback cost is...
Hold on, I gotta look this up because
I think the definition of flashback, if the flashback cost was paid, exile this card instead of putting it anywhere else anytime it would leave the stack.
Oh, okay. Yeah, damn it. Well, okay, but you can still do once, twice, 3 times an Aeon, which I think is pretty sweet.
Tuck is here to destroy your own resources.
Yes.
When we met Control Shell, we didn't mean controlling your opponents. We meant controlling yourself.
Exactly. Our own board is going to pay the piper.
It's like, Tuck, are you sure you want to buy back 3 islands? Those are your last 3 islands. Do it.
Do it. Yeah. Do I look like someone who's messing around?
No. It's like that Thanos scene in Endgame. Do it, but sir, our soldiers. I don't care.
Oh yeah, we're just fire, rain fire. Awesome. Yes. Okay, moving on to the next one. Now, if you thought the seas were ominous, you don't know nothing about them chickens, or the pigeons, if you will. Ominous Roost. 2 colorless and a blue for an enchantment. When Ominous Roost enters the battlefield, or whenever you cast a spell from your graveyard, create a 1/1 blue bird creature token with flying, and this creature can block only creatures with flying. So again, we're just getting free value. We're getting our chip damage in. There's a card maybe later that we can kind of turn these birds into something maybe a little bit bigger. But eventually, we're just going to have this army of birds that are going to be pecking down planeswalkers, pecking down life totals, and then dying to an untimely board wipe.
Yeah, or an untimely rain because they're stupid and they looked up and drowned in the rain there. Oh, sorry, that's turkeys.
Wait, what?
So... Yeah, that's like, and that I think that's like an old tale that turkeys are so dumb if it rains they'll like stare up at the sky and like drown.
Oh, and just like drown?
Yeah.
Sure.
Could you imagine what they're thinking that whole time? Like, oh God, I wish this water had stopped getting in my throat. Oh, if only I could stop it.
Did you know that Benjamin Franklin wanted the bird of the United States not to be the
American bald eagle,
but the turkey?
Yep. I did.
But instead he wanted the turkey. And now again, I haven't eaten a bald eagle yet, so I don't know, but turkeys certainly do taste good.
Yeah, this card's fine. I mean, once again, this will have to, with how Tuck's building it and with how I'm building it, we're going to have to figure out that balance, because one of my big control cards is not good for tokens for anyone. It'll be interesting to just see how many token producers we have versus control pieces, and how do you find that balance to where you don't hurt yourself. But very cool card because, like you said, it's gonna just give you value for you playing your deck.
That's what I kind of thought too. So, all right, back to you. We're still finishing the 9th round. What do you got?
All right, so we're going to surveil some more. We're talking Night Veil Sprite. Colorless blue, creature fairy rogue. It's a 1/2. It has flying. Whenever it attacks, surveil 1. Nobody's ever chumping this thing. It's only 1 card. It's 15 cents. It's a 2-drop. It fuels the early game for you. Because now, sometimes I think graveyard players are like, regardless if I could even do anything with it, I'm going to put it in the graveyard. Like, I'm always putting things in my graveyard, and that's what I'm always doing. I am not of that mindset. I like it, especially in the early game when you don't have ways to even play the things in your graveyard.
Right.
Surveil 1, if it's a land, and even if I have a land in hand, I might keep it, because it's like, well, I only got 1 land in hand. I need to make sure I hit that land drop.
Sure.
So it's gonna definitely let you look, and it's cheap because it kind of gives you a Cincy Divining Top S scry every turn because you're always gonna swing.
No, I love it. Honorary Ninja, great rogue, solid inclusion in this deck, especially if you're surveilling for 3 on each attack with that other enhanced surveillance that you're talking about.
Yep. All right. I was gonna put a Planeswalker in here, and it was gonna be a Jace, and it's of the Living Guild Pact.
What? No, not him. He's the worst.
He's good. He's actually good. 2 colorless blue Planeswalker Jace. It's 5 loyalty mythic. You can get one for 93 cents because that shows how powerful it is. And it has 3 effects. +1, look at the top 2 cards of your library, put one of them into your graveyard. That's literally going up in loyalty, doing exactly what your deck. Yeah. And then -3, return another target non-land permanent to its owner's hand, part of our control shell. And then -8, each player shuffles his or her hand and graveyard into his or her library. You draw 7 cards. I don't think you're ever going to do the -8. I don't see why you would. Right. But it could be something that you, once again, from a control perspective, you're at 10, 12. You just keep going up. It's kind of like when I do my Ashiok, where I have you exile the top 3 cards and I can cast creatures off of it. I mean, that Ashiok sometimes will get to 16, 17, 18.
Right.
And I'm like, guys, I'm just going to keep doing it unless I really feel like I need to do the ultimate and play a creature.
Right.
You could do that with this. Like, hey, I'm just going to keep surveilling. I mean, if you really, like, Terrifying Tyler start going bananas with your Baron, yeah, I might get rid of all of our graveyards and shuffle it back in. But I'm just here to surveil.
Sure. I want to know what's funny. I think you actually made a deck or found a deck where this is good.
What can I say?
The Living Guild Pack is traditionally the black sheep of the Jace clans because nobody likes them. But, it's actually pretty good in here. So I got to give credits. And this will not be not the last or the third to last or the 5th to last potentially Jace that we're discussing this very morning.
Well, Tuck, to round out round 10, what do you got?
I have a card here that is going to ramp. This is kind of like Night Veil Sprite, in my opinion. It does both things you want and just kind of accelerates the game. So Deranged Assistant is a colorless and a blue for a creature, human, wizard, Harry, that you can tap, mill a card, and then add a colorless to your mana pool. And it's Ascent, literally. So for me, again, it's a wizard, Harry. It mills you a card, and also you get to add 1. The thing I don't like about it as much, and I think this is the payoff, the Night Veil Sprite, you're getting an attack and getting a choice. This one, you're getting a mana and not getting a choice, right?
Yep.
So that's where it kind of can bite you in the ass, but I think we're going to have enough utility and enough ways to play stuff from the graveyard, pull it back out, where you're going to be able to be okay with just milling 1.
So I'm usually not the biggest fans of these. I mean, I do run this card in my Arami deck. But once again, I don't like losing resources and not even knowing what it is. Like, that just kind of sucks.
I think with Magic, speaking of control deck, I think you like to be able to dictate I want to dictate how I'm going to discard my cards. I'm going to dictate how I mill my library. I'm okay doing any of that, but you want the agency to do it yourself, right?
Yes. But here's the cool thing. I actually think with the way that I'm building the deck makes this card actually very, very good because you've been surveilling nonstop. You should know kind of roughly what's on the top. And so it might be like, okay, I can surveil, but I need to also add a mana to cast this other spell. Let me look at it first. Oh, you know what? That's actually is one I'm cool putting in the graveyard. Let me leave it on top, and Deranged Assistant can put it in the graveyard, and now I get a mana. So you can kind of use the surveil as almost, do I just want to leave it on top for a mana, or do I want to put it in the graveyard and then go even deeper, and maybe I am going to risk something? So I actually really like it.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited about it as well. So my next one,
round 11,
is kind of a counterspell, a little bit, but I'm not quite sure because it's sending me a lot of different vibes and potentially some misdirections. So 3 colorless, double blue for an instant. You may exile a blue card from your hand rather than pay the spell's mana cost. Change the target spell with a single target. So you pay the easy cost on this for the blue card first time, and then you pay the 5 to keep yourself alive another turn. It's a counterspell without being a counterspell. You can move a fireball to someone else. You can take someone else's extra turn. It's going to be a great utility card that people are going to have to play around when it's in your graveyard.
So I did see, because there's a few of these cards that are similar to this, and of a target spell with a single target. And I didn't put any in my list, but I'm glad to see that you did, to put more of the control piece in here, because that was the one where it's like, gosh, we want to figure out how to counter magic without countering magic, but is it going to be the targeted spells that we want to deal with, or is it more like sweeper effects or generic effects? So I think actually having a good healthy balance of both will help you throughout the game.
But you cannot do the exile blue card as flashback, correct?
So that's actually what I was looking into the rules on. I want to say you can, because it says rather than pay misdirection's mana cost.
Right.
It's not like overload that's an alternate. Like, I guess they're both alternate costs. It's just they're worded differently.
If you cast a spell with flashback, you can't pay any alternate costs such as overload costs. You can pay an additional cost such as kicker costs. And if it has any mandatory additional costs, you may pay those cards. You may pay those to cast a spell with flashback. So, no? I don't know. Rule, judge! Yeah, who cares? Moving along. All right. Round 11, what we got here?
Round 11. Well, I wanted to have that control shell. And a mono blue staple is Quicksilver Fountain.
Oh, God.
3 colorless artifact for a little under $3. It's a rare. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player puts a flood counter on target non-island land he or she controls. That land is an island as long as it has a flood counter. At end of turn, if all lands in play are islands, remove all flood counters from them. Do I need to say more?
No. I played this once, and people were upset.
People were furious.
Yeah, not happy. I like it. I love it. Slam dunk.
Well, round 12, we're going to have to try to figure out how to explain this disappearance. So we're talking unexplained disappearance.
Okay.
So this card's an instant, colorless blue. Return target creature to its owner's hand at an instant, and surveil 1.
Sure. Slam dunk.
Save your bacon for 2 mana and get to dig. Perfect.
I love this surveil thing that you've done here. I think it's great.
So the funny thing is I actually worked on my list maybe a day or two after we recorded episode 114 where we were talking about surveillance stuff. And I was like, you know what? I think this would actually make Tuck really, really happy. So
You're right.
Let's do it.
Correct. You are 100% correct, sir.
All right. Well, finish out round 12 with yours.
I think this is going to be a card that's going to make you very happy.
Ooh.
Because I can kind of, hold on, I'm getting something. It's like White Russians in a can, turkey legs, surveillance. I lost it, but my telepathy is finally coming through. Because I want to know what everyone else is playing. Because I'm sick of sitting here and not knowing. And then this way, I know exactly what cards I need to cast from my graveyard. So telepathy is very straightforward. 1 blue for an enchantment. Your opponents play with their hands revealed. Genius.
How is this card only like 50 cents?
How many decks do you feel that you have had this in and then have subsequently cut it from?
0, because I've never bought a copy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, never bought one. I never think of it, but I'm just wondering, 1 single blue to just know what everyone's doing all the time, and no one will ever blow this up. It'll just accidentally get blown up.
No one's going to direct target this, right? Because they're all... Well, and like to some extent, your hand is going to be your graveyard when your commander's out, so they can always know what's in there too, right? So anyways, I love telepathy, and this seems like a good deck for it so that you're not burning your precious exiled spells on the wrong targets.
Yeah, I think the only deck telepathy would get blown up immediately on, like Sightseeing, would be Centriplets. Because then it's like, it's like I could pick who has the best hand to be able to play out of. That's the only one, I think. Everything else would just be like, all right,
okay,
it sucks, but okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like Mage's Spellbook, where it's just you have unlimited hand size for 0. No one's going to kill that. It's just got to sit there the entire time. So I was not joking about my next Jace Rampage I'm going on, but I have shifted some of them around. This one's one of the more underplayed ones, and I think it has tons of value in a deck like this. So Jace, Unraveler of Secrets. So 3 colorless double blue for Legendary Planeswalker Jace. +1, scry 1, then draw a card. -2, bounce a creature to owner's hand. And then finally -8, you get an emblem, which is whenever an opponent casts their first spell each turn, counter that spell. So the -8 is kind of bad here because eventually you won't be able to counter the spells. But the ability to scry, draw, especially when you're going through your surveil rigmaroles, and then also bounce a creature, all for 5 mana, you just keep going back and forth like that. It's
Living Guild Pact is just a better version of this card.
We're gonna have both of them.
I understand, but you ranked on it so bad, and it's literally a 4 mana version of this card.
With a better +1 for the deck.
And a better ultimate.
And an ultimate that is slightly better, but also ultimately doesn't matter. We're taking them both, all of them. Just, if you think these ones are bad, just you wait. Because believe me, it gets wild.
All right. Well, I am going to complete out round 13 with just a generic good card for the deck, Codex Shredder.
Oh,
1 colorless artifact, tap, target player mills a card. 5 colorless, tap, sack the Codex Shredder, return target card from your graveyard to your hand. That's actually very nice because I have been in decks that care about a specific thing in the graveyard that can pull out, aka my zombie deck, and I can't tell you how many times in that deck an instant sorcery enchantment goes to the graveyard, and I'm just like, God, I have no way to get you back.
do anything.
This same type of thing, you might have an enchantment or creature or planeswalker you need to get back to hopefully finish out and win. 5 colorless to bring it back is awesome. And it is the Milla card. You don't get to look at it, and so you get no payoff for it. But, there's going to be times where you just need to fuel. So.
Yep, I love it. And it's a 1-drop, very innocuous. You can always target an opponent as well if you need to. If someone tutors, like first turn, Vampiric Tutor, Codex Shredder, Milieu, Adios, whatever card you needed, right? So I love it. It's got a ton. Is this in your Arami deck?
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, it was part of the draft kit, and it actually worked out really well. So, all right, going on to round 14. I actually just saw this card. This would have been last week's Commander Clash. Richard literally discarded his hand like 3 or 4 different times. He just had the worst luck. But the deck of many things in this deck, I think, is bananas. 5 colorless, legendary artifact mythic. You can still get one for $260. Or you can get the one with the dragon ampersand for $62.
So dumb.
2 colorless, tap. Roll a d20 and subtract the number of cards in your hand. If the result is 0 or less, discard your hand. 1 through 9, return a card at random from your graveyard to your hand. 10 through 19, draw 2 cards. 20, put a creature from any graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. When that creature dies, its owner loses the game. So the way that I look at this is literally everything you're okay with. You discard your hand. Well, I just basically took my hand from here, and now I got another hand in my graveyard. The 1 through 9, if you end up getting that, return a card at random. Okay, so it's either going to be something that I could have cast anyways with my commander, but now I get to do it an additional time, or it was something that I had no chance at recasting, so I'll take that. 10 through 19, draw 2 cards. We talked about how I want to draw and win the game. And 20, I mean, that's just pretty self-explanatory. I get a creature, and if it dies, you lose. That's insane.
Yeah. It's great. And I think, especially if you're doing this much surveil stuff, I feel like there's a chance that your hand isn't going to be that big because you're casting all these 1-drops, you're surveilling, which is putting stuff into your graveyard. So I think that even then, you might only have 3 or 4 cards in your hand, which will help make the roll not horrible. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair. All right. Tuck, complete round 14.
Okay. We're going back to making creatures. But this one is going to be making some big boys when you cast Walk the Aeon 3 times in a row. Dika, Fractal, Theorist. 4 colorless and a blue for legendary creature, human wizard Harry. With Magecraft, whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, create a 0/0 green and blue fractal creature token. Put X/1/1 counters on it, where X is that spell's mana value. And then 3 colorless and blue. Target creature token can't be blocked this turn. So now when you cast Walk the Aeons, you go down 3 islands, but you go up 3 6/6s. And then eventually you can make one of them not blocked for the small pittance of 4 mana.
I think you misunderstood how that Walk the Aeons works. You keep saying you get you get 1 token that's a 6/6. You don't get 3 tokens.
But then you sacrifice your 3 islands and then cast it again, and then you get another 6/6, and then you go to the graveyard, you cast it from the graveyard, get another 6/6.
Oh my god! So wait,
this deck
this
is Walk the Aeons
12,
deck.
18, 23, and then the 3 islands. So 26 mana investment to get 3 extra turns and 3 6/6s.
Seems pretty good to me.
Seems awful.
Oh, please. This next one, though, is not. This is a new card that is not even out yet. And I think this card is going to be a house. So Holebreaker Horror is going to do a lot of good stuff in this deck. So 5 colorless, blue for a creature, Kraken Horror. That's a 7/8. It's rare with flash. This spell can't be countered. And then whenever you cast a spell, choose up to 1. Return target spell you don't control to its owner's hand. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. So again, this is the best way to get around the can't be countered spell way, because like you cast 1 drop from your graveyard to surveil 2, then bounce that spell, bounce a problematic enchantment, anything. Non-land permanent, it's insanely strong. Plus you just start bashing in for 7.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much to say on this, especially because of the whole cantrip thing like we've talked about. I mean, the fact that I could just pay 1 mana and now essentially counter magic you whenever I want, that's amazing. And the thing that people always forget, yes, there are spells that say it can't be countered. This gets around it because you're not countering it. You're just putting it back to their hand. So, there's the counter spell. That's the Teferi card. Great, we're not countering, but still, like, they have that. There's the Wrath, I think. It's like blue, white, colorless, destroy all creatures. The spell can't be countered.
Oh, yeah.
So there are a few of these things that
Supreme Verdict,
you'll want to try to protect. So great card.
Yeah, can't wait to pay the $5 for it. So Mr. Combo, rounding out 15, round 15, what do we got here?
All right, we have an amazing, versatile, overcosted removal spell. Normally only good in mono black to deal with enchantments or colorless, and you wouldn't play it anywhere else. But the only reason I'm including it is because we can play it from our graveyard again. So Scour from Existence, I think you got to put in the deck. 7 colorless, instant, exile target permanent.
Yeah, play it at any time, bash something. It's like one of the premier removal spells in like these mono blue decks like you were just talking about. So I love it. There's probably going to be ways to discount cost of these things. You're probably going to pay 5 for this.
Yep. All right, round 16, one of my favorite counter spells, but not quite a counter spell.
Oh, God.
We are going to be commandeer our opponent's stuff. So 5 colorless, blue instant. You may remove 2 blue cards in your hand from the game rather than pay commandeer's mana cost. So we got to figure out this whole, that. Gain control of target non-creature spell. You may choose new targets for it. So, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it seems pretty great.
Let me steal your enchantment, your artifact, your sorcery, your planeswalker,
your extra turn spell from the graveyard. Yeah.
Yep.
And I love how, I think this is such a good pick because you pay the 2 blue cards up front and it still goes to your graveyard, right? You're going to have piles of stuff that you can get rid of from your hand. And getting it back, it's so good. This card used to be like $30, and it finally went down in price because I think people realize it doesn't matter because it's not a snow land, even though it's from Cold Snap. So, big fan. You got me onto this card, by the way, and I immediately bought one that day.
Well, what'd you pay for it? Because it's now $18.
I think I paid $9.
Oh, there you go. Nice.
I think I got it that day. It was right before, I don't know, whatever snow. There's some set with snow in it.
Funny 15-second story before Tuck rounds out round 16. During the Commander Clash, talking about MTG Finance, Krim had mentioned, oh yeah, the Masterpiece Soul Ring, I remember I sold mine years ago for $50. And then Seth looked it up, Saffron Olive, It's like almost $1,000
Yeah,
now.
I just saw that this morning, actually.
Good God. And Krim's face was just of disgust.
Yeah. I think he said something that's like, well, don't listen to me about stock advice ever. So good. Okay. This card is not going to break the bank, though, but it is going to help us refill our hands from our different cantrips and all that sort of thing. So Wavebreak Hippocamp, this horsefish, is 2 colorless and a blue for an enchantment creature, horsefish. That's a 2/2. Whenever you cast your first spell during each opponent's turn, draw a card. So we're playing a lot of 1-drop instants, a lot of surveil cards that are going to help fill up our hands, fill up our graveyards, and this kind of offsets the surveil cost, like you said, of not actually drawing you a card. And all those little 1-drops, all those little things that we're going to be casting over and over again, draw your card and get your surveil in. So cute little interaction for me. Seems like a pretty easy inclusion. This next one, though, I'm not sure what post-run club Drunk Sam was thinking on this one, but I think I know what I'm doing with it. So, Dress Down, question mark? It's a colorless and a blue for an enchantment with flash. So when it enters a battlefield, you draw a card, and then creatures lose all abilities. At the beginning of the end step, sacrifice Dress Down. So for me, this is like a way that you can kind of trick your opponents into attacking, maybe losing some of their buffs, maybe losing some of their standard abilities that they're going ham with. It seems like I really don't know what I was thinking when I put on here, but I want to keep it going. I want to keep the train going on this card.
I think this is just significantly too cute for the deck.
Too cute?
I think it's way too cute. Because it's the all creatures. If it was just your opponent's creatures lose all abilities and you still had to sacrifice it, then it's like, all right, whatever. Yeah. It's kind of like a 1 mana less sudden spoiling without split second. But the fact that it's all your creatures, because it would really suck for you to, even if you had your commander out, you do this, and they're like, oh, okay, well, now I'm going to, like, board wipe, and it's like, I had a counter spell, but now I can't use it.
Oh, sure, yeah. I think what happened was our future guest, Bosch and Roll, spoiler alert, he loves this card and plays it all the time in Legacy, so maybe I just had it at the top of mind. But yeah, so maybe not the best, maybe a little too cute. I'm going to pass it back to you, MrComboNumber5, before you rake me over the coals any further.
All right. So I am going to round out round 17 with Precognition Field. Ooh. So 3 colorless blue, enchantment. You may look at the top card of your library, and you may do this at any time. It's insanely good. You may cast the top card of your library if it's an instant or sorcery.
Oh.
Fantastic. 3 colorless, exile the top card of your library. That could be an amazing way to, once again, to get piles of mana, but maybe you've gone through all your cantrips and you're still trying to deck yourself. I'll spend 30 mana, exile the top 10 cards in my library, just fucking get out of here. But the fact that we're able to play off the top, if it's an instant during any time, it doesn't say, once again, only during your turn. Just a lot of freedom there.
Yeah. And now with Lier out, you can cast from literally anywhere. Library, hand, and graveyard. Very strong interactions there.
All right. Round 18. It's the basic one. I did it because I knew Tuck wouldn't. Cyclonic Rift.
Fair. Yeah, sure.
Colorless blue, instant. Return target non-land permanent you don't control to its owner's hand. Overload 6 and a colorless. If you do, change its text by replacing all instances of target with each. Or apparently this is cleave before cleave.
Yeah, exactly.
Jesus.
It's just kicker. It's kicker. It's just another kicker card.
God. All right. Well, Tuck, what are you going to do to finish up round 18?
So this is a card that we both really liked during the first Chaos Draft. I think it plays a lot in here too. See the Truth.
Yes,
so it's
that was one of mine.
Blue. Was it? Nice. Colorless and a blue for sorcery. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. Put one of those cards in your hand, the rest in the bottom of your library in any order. If this was cast from anywhere other than your hand, put those cards into your hand instead. So
get it, baby.
It's a sorcery speed, which kind of sucks.
Yeah.
But again, like 4 mana for 4 cards and seeing 7 seems pretty solid, especially like over the same turn. And also, if you're playing from the top of the deck, you get the 3 cards right away there too. So potentially draw 6 for 4. Pretty straight down the middle for this deck.
Yeah. No. Look, I like this card a lot as long as your deck, even if it's a late game, has some way to be able to play it from the graveyard.
Right.
Because 4 mana for 4 cards, that's a mana per card. That is a good rate. Obviously, you'd like it to be cheaper, but I think where it takes it over the top is like Tuck said, but you get to look at 7 out of that 4 that you get to keep.
Exactly.
So now you're paying less than a mana per card to do that. Very, very good. But
which is like your favorite rate.
Yeah, but it's not a auto include in any blue deck. You got to have a way to be able to flash it back.
Definitely. So we also need some ways to ramp in this deck because they're in mono blue. And Mr. Combo, again, a tip of the hat to you. Because no, you're gonna like this one infinitely more. Because I think this card, you've already said that this card is good.
Okay.
I think this card is insane in this deck. The Celestius. It's a mana rock. You love this card. It's so good. 3 colorless for legendary artifact. If it's neither day nor night, it becomes day as it enters the battlefield. Yeah. Tap for 1 mana of any color. 3 colorless tap. If it's night, it becomes day. Otherwise, it becomes night. Activate only as a sorcery. And then whenever day becomes night or night becomes day, you gain a card. You may draw a card. If you do, discard a card.
And it was gain a life. You said gain a card.
Gain a life. Thank you very much. So for me, like, I think we talked about how you've correctly identified this as a good draw spell.
Yep.
And even now it's not negated because it's any card, right?
Yep.
So if you're like, okay, cool, I'm going to draw a card because someone didn't cast a spell last turn because they're also playing instants and sorceries. And then I'm going to discard this 1 Haymaker that I'm going to be able to cast anyways, right? So it's like a complete wash.
Yeah, basically, guys, I look at this card as you pay 3 mana to play it, you pay 3 mana to put it into the day and night cycle, and now just naturally you have a manalith, and you're just going to be gaining life and looting.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal.
Absolutely. And also you get to annoy everyone because you arbitrarily force them to put in the day mechanic, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, what becomes worse? The day night mechanic, or are you going to pay 1 for that?
Oof. It's got to be the day night mechanic, right? Because then you have to flip a card over. It's like another thing. It's not just one card.
Before the Drinkathon, I need to get like a big poster board for day and night, and all the games tables that I sit down at. It's like, all right, guys, we're doing day and night.
Oh, I love it.
All right. Well, my next one is a removal spell that I really, really like. I don't see it actually played a lot, which is a little disappointing. Probably because it's at sorcery speed, but, we'll let that slide for the swine. We are talking Curse of the Swine.
Oh, my gosh, yeah.
X, blue,
Blockers.
sorcery. Exile X target creatures. For each creature exiled this way, its controller creates a 2/2 green boar creature token. Amazing board wipe. The fact that you could probably do it at least twice. Yes, sorcery does suck, but we have potentially ways to play at flash speed with our sorceries. But yeah, Tuck, why don't you think we see this played enough?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I think there at some point it was like $3, and now it's gone down to like a quarter. Maybe people think it's just like inefficient because it doesn't target anything else, but I mean, people play, so it's kind of back to your murder argument that we have a lot, right? Like you can play Reality Shift for 2, exile a creature and they manifest, they get a 2/2 out of that, right? Mm-hmm. Or bottom level, you can pay 3 for this, which is the same thing, so they don't get a card, or you can pay 5 for this, right? So it's like a more modal card. I like it a lot. I've always been a huge stand for this, and this is going to go great in this deck.
Yeah. Okay, so to complete out and start round 20, I'm going to need to sheem with Taigam. So we are talking Taigam's Scheming.
Huh.
So, Taigam's Scheming, colorless blue, sorcery. Look at the top 5 cards of your library, put any number of them into your graveyard, and the rest back on top in any order. 4 mana, 10 cards?
Right, yeah. And it replaces itself. It works with your surveil. Very cool. This is awesome. What a great pick.
I know.
I've never heard of this card before.
Man, Tuck, are you potentially going to build this deck?
No. I'm not building any more monocolor decks.
Boo! All right.
I already have Sphinxes. It's the best mono blue that exists.
I mean, this is a surveil deck, though.
I see. That's where you got me on this surveil shit. It's like just narrow enough to be like, is it worth it?
All right. Well, what's your 20th pick?
Well, I guess I'm gonna punish people for having expensive man bases because we're gonna have 34 islands in here.
Back to basics.
Back to basics.
Yeah.
Let's get mean. I'm ready to get mean. So 2 colorless and a blue for an enchantment. Non-basic lands don't untap during their controller's untap steps. Well, sucks for you for playing your reserved list. Now you're not going to be able to play anything. I don't usually like these sort of soft lock cards, but I think this one, it's like, I think this and Blood Moon are totally fine.
Yeah.
I think they're totally fine. Just play your basic lands. If you're playing a expensive mana base and get greedy on it, this kind of makes you pay the piper a little bit for it.
Oh, so then like same thing with like Quicksilver Fountain. It's like
yeah, I completely agree. Like I think they all work very well. Work very well in sequence together.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, when people get upset about back to basics, I feel like usually it's the budget players that are upset by it because it's like I already have this crappy land that enters the battlefield tapped. And now it can't even untap. I do understand the frustration there, but I think people just need to understand most players, and I'm going to say it should be 90% or more, put back to basics because they're in play groups with Scalding Tarns and dual lands and all of that kind of super
City
expensive
Brasses,
mana bases. And it's just a way to try to keep those people in check because we've all seen when you build an EDH deck, almost all of your budget's in your mana base if your deck is a Toon deck.
Yep, I completely agree with that. And now, if people are trying to get cute and saying, you know what, I don't want to tap down my bad lands. Well, that's some sour news for you. I'm going to tap it down anyways with my girl, Tamiyo, the Moon Sage. 3 colorless double blue for legendary planeswalker Tamiyo. +1, tap target permanent. It doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. -2, draw a card for each tapped creature target player controls. And then finally, you get an emblem with you have no maximum hand size. And then whenever a card is put into your graveyard from anywhere, you may return it to your hand. So now we're having something that's helping us tap down problematic permanents, freeze them. And if you're playing against some like sort of go wide deck that just attacked, you can even pay 5, -2, draw 10, draw 15 potentially. And then finally the ultimate, keeping your hand size full and then letting you choose whether you want to put something in to flashback it or it gets your creatures back, that sort of thing with the May ability.
You would never do that.
You'd always want it back to your hand.
Yeah, it's always
right?
back to your hand. The only time you would ever put something into your graveyard is if you had a monster mash and you were trying to get it shuffled back in.
Oh, sure. Or you had some of these like you had like some perfect combination of if you do cast it from your graveyard, you like draw 4 cards and do this other stuff, right?
Yep. So yeah, like we actually talked about it, the See the Truth would be a perfect example of you would probably put that in the graveyard to get extra value from it.
Exactly.
So yeah, no, Tamiyo, the Moon Sage, insanely powerful. I remember there was actually an infinite combo with her ultimate and the other Tamiyo's ultimate. Where you got Omniscience, and basically the old legendary rule is that if there was a Tamiyo, regardless of the version, if there was 2 of them on your battlefield, you had to sack one because of the legend rule, which I was pissed when they changed. It's so dumb because Planeswalkers are supposed to transcend the planes, so this Tamiyo is the other Tamiyo. It's not like there's 8 different versions of Tamiyo in the multiverse. Ugh.
Yeah, I do think that's silly, but I mean, what are we gonna do?
Complain about it. That's what we're gonna do.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna sit here and whinge about it and to no one.
All right. Well, here is my card that just isn't that great with us doing lots of tokens, and that's where we're just gonna have to figure out, is it worth it? Because I do think the decks that are going to hurt us are going to be token decks, go wide decks. They're just going to be too quick. There isn't enough bounce we can do in blue to handle that. So Leyline of Singularity is kind of a everyone stay fair card. It's an enchantment for 2 colorless blue. If it's in your opening hand, you can play with it in play. All non-land permanents are legendary.
Right. I like it. That's cool. You're just going to have to figure out what our token producers are, right? But I think even then, we have enough ways with Planeswalkers and these other cards where we'll still find ways to get around this. And we can choose if we know we're playing token decks to, like, this is one of the few ley lines where if you're like, you know what, we're not really playing token stacks, I'm actually going to not play this immediately because I have 3 token producers in hand. So I think it's cool. I like this one a lot.
Nice.
All these ley lines are great.
All right. Starting out the new round of 22, we are talking Dig Through time. 6 colorless, blue, instant, delve. Each card you exile from your graveyard while casting the spell pays a colorless. Look at the top 7 of your library, put 2 into hand, rest on the bottom in any order. Basically, it's actually just going to read 2, exile the 6 non-instant sorceries that you can't cast, look at the top 7, flash it back for 2, doing it again to look at another 7.
Banned in Modern, banned in Legacy. Can you believe that?
Wow.
And restricted in Vintage.
That's insane.
So strong. And for like $1.25.
Yep.
Insane value you get out of this.
Yep. All right, Tuck, what do you got?
Okay. We are playing another card that is a little bit of a greasier version of your Unsubstantiate. A little bit more expensive, but he is a creature and a commander in his own right. Venser, Shaper, Savants. 2 colorless, 2 blue for legendary creature, human wizard with flash. When he enters the battlefield, return target spell or permanent to its owner's hand. So pretty much, again, I'm playing this in the sense of this is just a counter spell when you cannot counter, and also bounce any problematic spell on the field. I don't think we're playing a lot of flash spells or bouncing that way, so it kind of might be a one-time use. I still think it's worth it in this sort of can't be countered world that we're playing in.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. I actually just thought of an interesting kind of infinite combo you could do with that, where you play the Venser and you have that red enchantment we just talked about last week, where whenever you have a non-token, you flip a coin. If you win it, you make a token copy of it. But then you make the token copy and you bounce the original, play the original, have the token copy. That'd be kind of funny. But yeah, cool. I saw Venser. I didn't have it on my list because I thought you would think it's a little too greasy. But yes, absolutely. Yeah, this is an amazing way to counter spells without countering spells.
Exactly. So that's why I think it's a good slot in here. And this one is a top-end card, pet card of mine, but I think it does have some interesting synergies here. So, Nedza Hall, Primal Tide. 5 colorless, double blue for a 7/7 legendary creature, Elder Dinosaur. This spell can't be countered. You have no maximum hand size. Whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, draw a card, and then finally discard 3 cards, and then you can bounce it. So for me, I think I like all of this, right? Like, no maximum hand size, drawing cards, but then you can discard cards kind of freely as well, right? Like you can discard your cards with flashback, be able to cast them from your graveyard. So for me, I think this is going to be like a good chain in and of itself.
Yeah.
To keep it going, start swinging in for 7.
I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of the card.
I know you don't like this one.
So it's fine. But the funny thing is that the discard piece to kind of protect kind of is also like this legendary creature as well that I'm going to talk about. I think Adamus All-Seeing makes a lot of sense in this deck. 3 colorless, blue, 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 legendary creature Sphinx. From M20, it's a 4/5 with flying. 2 colorless, blue, tap, draw 2, discard a card. So, I mean, it kind of does what we want to do. But whenever Adamus All-Seeing deals damage to an opponent, you may reveal your hand. If cards with at least 6 different converted mana costs are revealed this way, that player loses the game. We're going to be doing so much drawing and discarding and filtering. I think it's going to be very easy for us to actually have the 6 different CMCs. Now, granted, the thing that I also like about this is that we're not doing like unblockable. We haven't really done a lot of that kind of stuff. So it's still going to be fair. Like as long as you have a 2/2 Drake, you're going to live through it, or a 1/1 Thopter. But it puts the fear out there that, oh, is he swinging? God, does that mean he has 6? Maybe I have to use my creature to block. And then it's like, oh, no, I actually didn't have anything. I'm going to cast these spells from my graveyard.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, too, because we're playing so many cards that have alternate casting costs, we will have, like, with the commandeer and stuff, they have kind of wonky mana values, even though we're not going to be casting them. So I agree. I think this has a good shot of having this.
All right. Starting out round 24, I'm going to put in a legend from that trash set, Throne of Eldraine, called Gadwick the Wizened. Blue Sun Zenith on a body. Yeah. So X blue, 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 legendary creature, human wizard. When it ETBs, draw X cards. It's a 3/3. That's actually not the real reason I wanted in the deck. I would be fine just playing it for 3 blue. Because whenever you cast a blue spell, tap target non-land permanent an opponent controls. We're going to have lots of cheap cantrips. We are going to be doing stuff multiple times a turn. We're going to be doing stuff on other people's turns. Once again, this is that control shell to where I'm going to choose what you have available. Yep. I mean, this is even good because you could even waste a BS cantrip during their upkeep to tap down their Soul Ring even.
Sure,
like, I don't want you doing anything sorcery speed. So
absolutely. Yeah, I agree. A lot of utility here. It's going to play real nice into my next card, which is another instant that I actually made a joke about yesterday with Tomer. into the Royal. So colorless and a blue for an instant. Adds kicker, colorless and blue as well. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. If the spell is kicked, draw a card. So for me, this is just a replacement effect for a counter spell in this deck, pretty much, right? Like, we can't counter from the hand, so we might as well play something that's efficient, that targets a lot of things to put it back up to your hand. And if you need to draw the card, you can. So for me, I just always like this card. I think it's like a pretty good catch-all for mono blue.
Yeah, no, I don't have a ton there. It's... You know,
it's
for
boring.
me, it's a little overcosted for mana
yeah.
to draw a card and bounce one thing. I don't know.
I don't think it's great, but this card saved my ass a lot when I played mono blue because it's sort of an enchantment if you're trying to attack with your 1/1s. That's why I like it. But again, it's not like anything special, and it's 4 cents, so you probably can find one in your couch cushions. But moving on, this is another card that's going to play really well with all of the stuff and the cantrips we're going to be casting. Archmage Emeritus, right from Strixhaven. It's a 2/2 for 2 colorless and double blue for creature, human, wizard, Harry. With Magecraft, whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, draw a card. So again, we're going to be turning a lot of these 1/1s into replacing themselves, being able to chain stuff together through that. Casting stuff out of our graveyard is just going to get better. I don't know if we're playing a ton of copy spells in here. I don't think that's kind of the deck for it. But getting that incidental value off the few that we're putting in, to me, makes this pretty, kind of like Gadwick the Wizened. It's just a good creature that you can have on the battlefield and just kind of act as an enchantment.
Yeah, I mean, it is a bit overcosted at 4
Yeah.
for a 2/2. I wish at least it was like a 3/4 at minimum, but yeah, I mean, just playing the deck's just going to draw you cards, so why not?
Yeah.
All right, so for my round 25, we're talking Search for Azcanta.
Kanta!
Colorless blue, legendary enchantment, rare. At the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top card of your library. You may put it into your graveyard, which is I'm all about. Then if you have 7 or more, transform, search for Azcanta. And it turns into Azcanta, the Sunken Ruin, legendary land. Tap, add a blue to your mana pool. 2 colorless tap, look at the top 4 cards of your, or 2 colorless blue tap, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal non-creature, non-land from among it, put it into your hand, the rest on the bottom in any order. Does literally everything this deck wants, and Tuck, if you even put in that thing to where it was like the bounce of the land when we're talking about our MDFCs, this is another thing to where it's like if you get it, but you actually want to be doing the surveil kind of effect more, or the scry, you know, you can kind of bounce it, play it again as an enchantment. I really, really, really like this land a lot.
Yeah, it's really good. It used to be $1 gazillion. I'm glad that it's not anymore. You can get it for 5. Plays right into what we're trying to do in the deck. So I am here for it. Big time, Mr. Big Combo.
Big time from Mr. Big Combo from Mr. Big Tuck.
It's me.
All right. So for round 26, you know, I just had to go to dig in my well of ideas.
Ooh.
So we are talking well of ideas. This is 5 colorless blue enchantment. When well of ideas enters the battlefield, draw 2 cards. At the beginning of each other player's draw step, that player draws an additional card. And at the beginning of your draw step, draw 2 additional cards. So the thing I really like about this is a lot of times these quote-unquote group hug cards usually pays off for the group before you get the hug.
Right.
And so I like the fact that it is overcosted at 6 mana, draw 2, but I don't think anyone's going to be board wiping this because they'll want to at least draw a card. So it should get around to you. So at bare minimum, I think you'll end up getting 4 cards for 6, which still isn't great. But then after that, it's 2 cards per turn. The rate becomes fantastic.
Right.
And we need to dig for cards as quick and as fast as possible. So I think this is a good idea.
I think it's great. And I am actually putting this into something which I can't quite talk to you about right now.
Uh-oh.
In a good way.
Well, what are you going to do for your round 26?
All right, we're going to get these out of the way. These are the 2 most boring picks I have, so I can get into my fun, stupid ones for the lightning round. Arcane Signet, Rhystic Study, 26-27. There you go. If I learned anything from the Aeon episode, we need to have some actual magic cards in here to build this into some semblance of a real deck. So, 2 basic ones. Nothing to worry about there.
I guess I'll throw my last super basic one then. Propaganda, 2 colorless blue. Whenever a creature an opponent controls attacks you, they got to pay 2 colorless for each creature. You need a way to protect yourself.
Yep. Easy enough. I love it. Let's get into the shit.
Yeah, we're in the lightning round now, guys. So as a reminder, we each only have 5 cards left. So now, out of all the cards we prepped with, we have to figure out which of the ones we find the coolest to talk about. And I will start. Oh man, this is tough. But I do think
you're gonna lose your damn mind on these next 4.
Am I really?
Yes, you're gonna be so upset.
All right, so starting off the lightning round for round 28, I'm talking attunement. Attunement, 2 colorless blue enchantment. Return attunement to its owner's hand. Draw 3 cards. Discard 4 cards. Great way to dig through the library, repeatedly fill our graveyard. I think this is like secret tech to kind of win the game.
Yeah, I love it. And the thing I like the most about it, though, is you can't get it in gold bordered. So that's the real cool part of it. Yeah, I think this is like a combo card somehow. Or maybe it was back in the day, but I love this. Like, I think this is a great pick because it's like a card that reads super cool, but you're like, what deck am I actually going to use this in? You know what I mean?
Yep.
Besides, I just realized Muldrotha would be really good in. So coming to a Muldrotha near you.
Ooh, that is really good in Muldrotha. And I like the fact that it doesn't say it's sorcery speed, so you can just leave it out there, and then someone's like, enchantment board wipe. And you're like, I'll just go ahead and discard my hand. I'll keep my attunement.
Exactly. No, I like it. I think that's awesome.
All right, what are you doing?
Well, I wasn't joking. If we're going to go into the token build, we might as well get something for it. Jace Cunning Castaway. Colorless blue for legendary planeswalker Jace. +1, whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player this turn, draw a card, discard a card, which is good, which is what we're trying to do. Then -2, create a 2/2 blue illusion creature token with. When this creature becomes the target of the spell, sacrifice it. We're talking about our token game. We can make the token unblockable with Dika Fractal Theorist for 4 mana. So we're going to get our card draw from that. And then finally, -5, create 2 tokens that are a copy of Jace Cunning Castaway, except they're not legendary. So for me, this was my drunken, I'm making this Jace tribal. I want to include the ones that maybe don't get played quite as much and do something. So at least we're drawing and then discarding a card on the rare chance that we're actually getting into the red zone with a Drake or something.
Sure.
You love it. Come on. You
no,
love
I
it.
don't.
You love it.
Not a good. This is the worst Jace.
This is probably the worst. This is probably the worst Jace in this deck. Yes, this is definitely the worst Jace of all of them.
All right, round 29. I got it because the way we do these draft episodes, we are actually building the deck. So I do have to put the win the game cards in here. I can't just say, hey, they go in. So Laboratory Maniac, 2 colorless blue. If you would draw a card while your library has no cards in it, you win the game instead. It's a 2/2. Yeah,
love it. Not much to say about that. $4 now. So there you go.
Yep. All right. What do you got for 29?
All right. Another Jace. But this one is a creature at first. Jace Vren's Prodigy. This one's actually good. A one colorless and a blue for legendary creature, Human Wizard Harry. Tap, draw a card, then discard a card. If there are 5 or more cards in your graveyard, exile Jace Vren's Prodigy, then return to the battlefield transformed as legendary planeswalker Jace Telepath Unbound. +1, up to 1 target creature gets -2, -0 until your next turn. Not that great. -3, you may cast target or instant or sorcery card from your graveyard this turn. If that spell would be put into your graveyard, exile it said. So you pretty much give a card flashback for 2 mana. -9, you can emblem with whenever you cast a spell, target opponent mills 5 cards. This is a Jace that actually does something. And ironically, I think a lot of the times you just want him as a Merfolk looter. Then we'll get transformed and give something in your graveyard flashback. Jace tribal, baby. Keep going.
I mean, I guess it's nice to have redundancy for your commander if you can't, have Lier out there.
That's why I put it in.
The -9 could help you win the game. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's not unrealistic. It's just the +1 sucks.
The +1 sucks
so
big
I'll
time,
just put it out there. Yeah, that is definitely a 60 card effect.
Yeah,
not something relevant for commander.
100%. But again, we're playing Jaces, so here we are.
Well, funny thing for number 30.
I was gonna say, wait a minute,
another Jace. We're talking the Wielder of Mysteries, colorless, triple blue, legendary planeswalker Jace for Loyalty, $5 is the cheapest one you can get. +1, target player puts the top 2 cards of their library into their graveyard, draw a card. You basically get access to 3 cards if you think about it.
Yep.
-8, draw 7. Then if your library has no cards in it, you win the game. And then it has a static effect. If you draw cards while your library has no cards in it, you win the game instead. This is redundancy for Laboratory Maniac, but the nice thing is that actually when this is on the battlefield, it can actually do something where Labman is just sitting there.
I completely agree. Like this, I think even if we're not getting there to win off of the Lab Man, this still does something in this deck, which I think is really important. So you kind of have to have them both. But again, we've talked, this card is just, I think, like infinitely better.
Yeah. All right, Tuck, what do you got?
We're going, keep on going, baby. We're going Party Jace this time. Jace,
Jesus.
the OG, Jace Beleren. I told you it was going to have a gimmick to it. Jace Beleren is a colorless blue for legendary planeswalker Jace. +2, each player draws a card. -1, target player draws a card. -10, target player mills 20 cards. Which again can kind of be good either way you look at it, and it's $2. So everyone's drawing cards. No one's going to kill him ever unless you get him close to 10, and they're just going to knock him back down. You can draw a card, doing everything that we're wanting in this deck except for milling, all in a tight 3 mana package.
Sure.
Yeah, you got it.
All right, I found some more cute tech for you, Tuck.
What is this?
We're going to meditate next.
Oh.
2 colorless blue, instant, draw 4 cards, you skip your next turn.
Wow.
And it's $10 and
it's part of Magic history for whatever reason. Because, yeah, this and a Taiga are just as important and impactful together. Oh, God. But it doesn't matter.
So, look, I mean, we have some extra turn spells in here. And I believe I looked this up, and I found it to be true. Because it says you skip your next turn. That trigger goes on the stack when your next turn would start. So if you do this for 6 mana in 1 turn, I think you only miss 1 turn for 8 cards.
I see what you mean. Yeah,
and 6 mana.
Interesting.
So I think that's actually how you want to use this, is I got 6 to do it. 6 mana all in. I'm casting it, draw 4, and I'm going to do it again out of the graveyard. That's actually how you do this. I don't think you just do it for just the draw 4, skip your next turn, unless you have an extra turn spell in hand, and it's like, oh, I'll just use that.
Well, and if it's late game, you may not even care, right? Because you're playing with your graveyard, so you have all your mana untapped or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? You pay just 3, get the 4 cards you need, and then now you're just being reactive on everyone else's turn. So I'm here for it. And this plays perfect with my next pick, which is, in fact, another Planeswalker, but we're doing something a little different. Teferi, Master of Time. So 2 colorless, 2 blue for legendary Planeswalker Teferi. You may activate loyalty abilities of Teferi, Master of Time on any player's turn, anytime you can cast an instant. +1, draw a card, discard a card, slam dunk. -3, target creature you don't control phases out. Great removal, great protection. Another way to deal with something on the board because we're not countering it. And then -10, take 2 extra turns after this one. So I know we've talked about how he's really good in a lot of different decks, but I think in this one he especially shines because of that loot effect, right? We're drawing a card that we need to refill our hands. We're bidding the ones that we're going to cast at a later turn. All 3 of these things seem like it's pretty strong on our old boy Teferi here.
I love this card. I love being able to do Planeswalker stuff on other people's turns. And the cool thing about this, especially with the meditate, if we're kind of using these 2 cards and kind of talk about how they synergize together, the interesting thing is that, yes, the 2 extra turns, it's like, okay, well, I'm only going to miss 1 of those turns, and I got to draw 8 cards for 6 mana. But the other thing is that if you do it and you have to skip your next turn, or even if I'm wrong and you have to skip your next 2 turns, you can still do Teferi on everyone else's turns. So it's like you're still actually contributing to the game and the progress. So that's what I think is actually pretty cool about this card.
Like I said, I still have not played it yet, and I've been wanting to, like, whoa.
Okay. So I'm on to my last card. And this is really hard because there's cards like Sapphire Medallion, Skyclave Relic, Mana Crypt, Soul Ring. Like, we need these cards in the deck, but I don't want to talk about them for my last one. And, but I think this is a card that can fill, Tuck, something that you like, Pretend Group Hug.
I do like that.
And it does what I kind of talked about, where this commander can kind of come off as less threatening because all spells can't be countered. So let's put Prosperity in the deck to continue to fuel this make-believe that we're friends.
Make-believe.
X blue, sorcery, each player draws X cards.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, guess what? You know what? I don't got anything to do. Let's all draw 10. And then you could flash it back. Let's all draw 15. Because once again, you're just trying to get through your deck as much and as fast as possible, and you don't even care if you have to discard down to hand size because you'll just put the best instant and sorceries in the graveyard.
I love it. I'm here for it. This is a great card. I've always liked it. $2. Nothing to complain about here at all.
All right, Tuck. Well, how are you gonna?
I want you to make sure
draft?
you can read this one so that it's easy enough to be able to search it up.
Oh my God, you're a dick.
I refuse to build a deck that does not have a Soul Ring in it. I'm willing to put myself up on the hill and be stabbed in the back by myself to end this with Soul Ring. It has to go in here. We only have like 2 other artifact ramp spells in here. We have to have it in here.
Bullshit.
Oh, you love it. Come on.
All right. Well, that completes the draft. Now let's fast forward into the future and get the deck stats. All right. So we have magically transported ourselves 5 minutes into the future. And here are our deck stats. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through, talk about how many of each card type we actually ended up in the deck. And then, Tuck, why don't you give us what the non-land budget ended up being and our CMC and how that kind of mana curve is looking.
Sure.
So we'll start off with our instance. We got 16 in the deck. Kind of shocked. I thought we'd have more.
Yeah.
7 planeswalkers. Well, we know why. So he shoved every Jace he could in here.
Oh, yeah.
16 enchantments.
That seems like an awful lot.
That seems like an awful lot. Artifacts, we got 6. Not a lot.
Not good.
Funny enough, only 5 sorceries.
Yikes.
And 14 creatures.
I was a little worried about that when I was rereading my list this morning. It's like, are we gonna have any targets? We have 6 1-drops, 18 2-drops, 15 3-drops, 9 4-drops. Oh boy, I can already confuse. 5 5-drops. Here we go. 6 6-drops. That's weird. 4 7-drops and an 8-drop. But our CMC ends up being 3.46. Which is pretty good, especially considering I went through the other ones, and the other ones we had were 3-3. The other one was 4-7, 4-1-7, and 4-1-5. So right along the range, and I think that's actually pretty deceptive because a lot of the cards like Dig Through Time you're not gonna pay 8 for that, right? You're paying 2.
Yeah, but you could almost say, like, because I know people always have that argument, but my counter argument is, do you have Rift in the deck? And it's like, yeah. And it's like, okay, well, that's not 2, it's 7.
Yeah.
If you have Dig Through Time and Rift, it's like they basically even out on the CMC.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And it's looking like right now with no lands, we can build this deck for around $240 to $245, which is pretty good.
That's not bad.
If we look
for a surveil deck, let's go.
Well, especially if we look at the price from the other ones, Aeon was $500 to $1,100. Averna was $100, pretty much on the nose, and then Hoffrey was $500. So doing pretty good for us with a few pieces of Magic history in here.
So the thing also says that it's about 27% competitive, 73% casual, which I would totally say this is a 75%.
That seems like that goes
casual deck
around there, yeah, for sure.
Yep, and I think that goes to show, guys, that you're able to do basically CEDH type win cons like Labman and Jace. We didn't have Thassa's Oracle in here, but that's another one that you could do.
Yeah, for sure.
But it goes to show that you could do those generic I win the game cards that people usually say aren't fun, but still have it in a fun deck.
Yeah.
To where, hey, we have 1 Gadwick, but we have no way to make infinite mana. We almost have no way to ramp. So it's just like, if you just get it through all of your flashing back, like, no one's going to be mad. They're actually your opponents are probably going to say, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I completely agree. I like you said, with the ramp package, it's not a fast deck. It's just going to be a fun deck to play with Surveil.
Yep. Totally agree. Well, guys, that's the end of the episode. Thank you so much. We would love it if you could leave us a review and some feedback on whatever consumption platform you watched us on. It could have been YouTube. It could have been a podcast. But if you'd like to get a hold of us, here's how you could do that. You can reach me at MrComboNumber5 on Twitter, all spelled out except for the 5. BigTuck, how can people get a hold of you?
You can see me on at BigTuck tweeting. Come at me with whatever I asked you at the top. Oh, your WordPress. Give me your WordPress feedback right there. DM me, post me, whatever you want to do. I'll be reading it.
All right. You can reach our main account at CMD Tower on Twitter as well. You can also go to the website where we will have the draft list article posted and the YouTube video and all the other accoutrements at cmdtower.com/BNBE114. Now, We could not do Brews and Builds without Tyler. He is our amazing audio and video editor for Brews and Builds here at CMD Tower. So at _tcoats on Twitter, hit him up, let him know what he's doing great, what he's doing good, and maybe some areas that you'd like us to include that maybe we aren't doing today, or even things you'd like us to improve on, because we really do take that feedback to heart. Now, we would love some support because it does help us keep the lights on and continue to put out great product for you guys. Head over to our Patreon, patreon.com/CMDTower. We have 4 different tiers, but the most exciting thing is if you become a Patreon, you will have early access to the Holiday Jund sweater that we developed here at CMD Tower, and you'll even get a $20 discount on it. So you could actually sign up for like the BigTuck's Brew Buddies, get a pack of sleeves, get a Monarch token, get a Squeaky coin, get some RK Post tokens, and your sweater, and you save $20, and now you're in the collective. You can talk in the Discord and do that. So it's a great, great way to be able to join our community while still getting a little bit of savings. Now, if you're an existing collective member and you referred someone to join, have them message us on Patreon, and depending on what tier they signed up on, it could be as simple as us signing a gold bordered card for you to, hey, we might send you your own holiday sweater. It just kind of depends, but we want to make sure we reward you for spreading the good word. Now, we do have a store, cmdtower.com/merch, so if you'd like to go pick up some of our swag, you can do it on there. We do sell everything, and we've even been able to kind of get the site fixed from a shipping perspective, so it's no longer just a flat $10 no matter what you buy. It will do weight-based shipping, which I know will be great for you guys, because some of you guys can save a few bucks if you just need to get a Monarch token. There's no sense in paying $10 to ship that. It can be put in an envelope, or, you know, on the bigger stuff, we can also help out our Canadian friends. So BigTuck, we did another chaos draft of Lier, Disciple of the Drowned. How do you think the deck ended up? Do you think we're a little too all over the place, or do you think we're actually cohesive enough that without many changes the deck could work?
Well, I have 2 answers to that. I would say that, per usual, I was all over the place, which is kind of my shtick on these, due to my crippling drinking problem. But I wasn't really excited. I love doing Chaos Draft. Like, this was Mr. Combo's idea that we started doing this year, and it's just been every single time it's fun. Like, I think we have great discussions. We talk about a lot of cards we might not want to, so I'm always excited for that. I was not that excited for this one in particular too much because I already have spell slinging decks, but I do love your idea of making it like the surveil deck and really leaning into that as much as you can. So I like that. I think if you take that sort of weird stab at it, it makes it way more interesting. And something that I would be more interested in playing as well.
Yeah, I think the only thing kind of like looking at the deck and how it's breaking down, we need more instants and sorceries in the deck. So I think it might be one of those things that let's find enchantments and creatures and honestly planeswalkers that maybe aren't going to the surveil and the token strategy. So it's like get rid of the. I mean, I like the Leyline of Singularity idea, but if we're going to try to get this pulled a little bit more in, I think we might have to sacrifice some of the fun pieces that we put in for pure mana rocks, more instants, more sorceries, just more things to fuel the deck. Because I do think we're onto something with the kind of token surveil theme. I think you could do both of those and do them healthy. Yeah,
I agree. But again, this is always fun. This is a good breakup in our 4 days of recording, just like tomorrow is going to be. So, but yeah, it was really fun. This is just always, these chaos drafts are always like the highlight of recording for me.
Well, I'm about to go juice 10 pounds of oranges to make mimosas. So see ya.
What, today? Oh, wait, in the future. Wait, what? You are now? For next week?